My name happens to be Shiv. I'm told that I'm named after my great-grandfather on my mother's side, who I've never met. And if you knew my family, you would know that down the line, there probably are going to be many more Shivs or Shivas, whichever it is. When I was growing up, I devoured books on Shiva, comic books, legends, myths, and I could never get enough of them. My mother was very kind. She kept a steady supply of these books. What a character Shiva was, right? You know, amazingly generous, this action hero. Those Amar Chitra Katha books were amazing. I think we can all agree that he's the one guy, you never mess with. Basically, that's what it really boiled down to. And I think not enough can actually be written about Lord Shiva because of the kind of character he is. And that's precisely why I think it's such an amazing thing that a trilogy on Shiva, the Shiva trilogy, written by that man sitting right over there, has sold 1.5 million copies. He's a publishing phenomenon, and he's just been given $1 million for something he hasn't even written yet. His next trilogy, which is going to be based on a mythological character or a series of characters, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that as well. The thing about Shiva is, we think we know so much about Shiva, but what do we really know? Who was he? Did he live? Where did he live? What was he like? I can tell you for sure there are a lot of people, even people in my family, who would probably be offended with a question like, did Shiva live? They're like, of course he lived. What are you talking about? But Amish here is going to tell us what he thinks, because he says he owes everything, including that $1 million, I suspect, to Shiva. Amish, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi guys. I was scared you were going to answer the question for me actually. Did Shiva live? This Shiva certainly lives. This may be a bit of a surprise for you guys, but I find it very difficult to be unbiased and objective about Lord Shiva. I'm very emotional about him. I am what some may call a very ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. So when Kali posed this question to me, that did Shiva live? My response was clear and immediate. Of course he did. Lord Shiva continues to live. He lives in my heart, and he lives in the heart of every single Shiva worshipper. But this is, obviously an emotional argument. It's not an intellectual argument. And this conclave is, once again, very obviously, a gathering of intellectuals. So let me strain my grey cells and try and present an intellectual argument. What I spoke at the beginning, I guess, was from the path of love, from the path of bhakti yoga. Let me try and speak now from the path of knowledge, the path of Gyan Yoga. So before we debate about whether Lord Shiva lived, let's discuss the purpose of religion itself. Okay? Why does it exist across almost every culture in the world? And more importantly, why does it continue to persist? In the modern world, atheists tell us that religion exists as a method of control. It's a form of control that the elite uses to control the masses. As the Marxists have famously told us, religion is the opium of the masses. Okay? I wonder how many of them have actually, Marxists have actually tried opium, but anyway, religion is the opium of the masses. That's what we're told. Now, if you ask me honestly, I find that statement ironically preposterous, because Marxism itself many times tends to behave like a religion, where its adherents, more often than not, automatically take up positions based on dogma rather than using intellectual rigor to form their opinions. That's as far as the Marxist side is concerned. Let's hear the other side, the religious side, the side of the believers. They will tell you that religion exists as an organized system to create an ethical society, right? And there are, I must say, there are studies which can back this claim. So for example, behavioral studies conducted in the University of Austin. But there are problems with this argument as well. The ethics of a great religion like Islam have been twisted by an insecure state like Pakistan to commit most heinous crimes. And Islam is not the only religion which has been misused in this manner by a few to spread hatred and violence. It has happened with every single religion, every single great religion in history, be it Hinduism, be it Christianity, be it Buddhism, be it Judaism, any other religion. They have all been sadly misused at times by people at some point of time in history to spread hatred and violence. So where does that leave us? What is the purpose of religion? If I might suggest something, let's step back in time, right, and look at how the ancient Indians approached religion. Let's look at the Katha Upanishad. It's one of the most intellectual, brilliant Upanishads available to us today. In the Katha Upanishad, there is a conversation between Nachiket, a young boy with a philosophical bent of mind, and Lord Yamraj, the god of death. As I'm sure many of you are aware, Lord Yamraj was not just the god of death, he was also the god of dharma. It's an interesting thing of religions across that death and dharma went hand in hand. But in any case, this conversation between Nachiket and Lord Ramya, the conversation between Nachiket and Lord Yamraj is so deep and meaningful that we can spend an entire lifetime debating over it. But I don't have a lifetime on this stage, regrettably. So I'm just going to speak of one section of that conversation. At the end of that conversation, we are told that having heard this knowledge from Lord Yamraj, Nachiket became free from his passions and death. He realized God. And so it shall be with any other who knows God, for it refers to the self. Now think about this for a minute. Okay? God refers to the self. That was the purpose of religion in ancient times. The purpose of religion was to raise the consciousness of every human being to a level so that he or she becomes divine. Now, was this only an Indian or a Hindu approach to religion? No. It existed across the ancient world. Look at the brilliant Egyptian myths of Osiris, the god of the underworld, and Mahat, the goddess of truth and justice. According to the ancient Egyptians, the purpose of life was to prepare for a good death so that one could exist in the afterlife amongst the gods as an immortal. Consider the various schools of mystery across the ancient Mediterranean coast, the last of which was run by a brilliant mathematician and philosopher, Pythagoras. Trust me, the greatest thing of Pythagoras was not the Pythagoras theorem, it was actually a school of mystery. Okay? According to them, they believed in the theory of the microcosmos, mesocosmos, and macrocosmos. Microcosmos represented man. It represented women as well. I'm just using the term man. Okay? Microcosmos represented man, and macrocosmos represented the entire universe and the divine. The purpose of the mesocosmos, which was another name for society, was to raise the consciousness of the microcosmos to unity with the macrocosmos. Right? In simple terms, what does it mean? The purpose of society was to raise the consciousness of every single human being so that they become divine. Sounds familiar, right? Now, at the root of all this is this concept of unity, that the Paramatma and the Jivatma are one, that God and every single living being are one. Plato had instructed us famously, know thyself. Sri Aurobindo had said that the great lesson of the Upanishads is Atmanam Vidhi, know your true self and be free. Now if we understand this as the true purpose of religion, then what is the purpose of God? With due apologies to Dylan Thomas, is God supposed to sit on a sad height, a height that we can't even aspire to reach? Or is God supposed to be a role model who lives amongst us and who teaches us through his example what we are capable of becoming? Apparently there was, another Dylan somewhere who'd wondered how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. God is supposed to be a role model. He is supposed to live amongst us, like Jesus Christ did, like Gautam Buddha did, like Lord Krishna did, like Lord Ram did, and like my God, Lord Shiva did. And because of the grandeur of his karma, he continues to live. He lives in my heart and in the heart of every single Shiva worshipper. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to sit now.
I know I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to be generous and open it out first. Okay, the lady in the blue there, go ahead.
I hope there's a mic kind of going around.
Can we get a mic to the lady, please? Amish, you can choose to sit or you can stand. You can do what you like.
I just need some hot water. My throat's hurting. Yes, sorry.
Amish, this was really one of the best sessions that I've heard since yesterday. This was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
My question to you is that are you a Sri Aurobindoite?
Sorry, are you?
Have you read Sri Aurobindo?
I have read some works of Sri Aurobindo. Regrettably, I must say I haven't spent as much time in Auroville as I should. Fortunately, I'm not a banker anymore, so I have a bit more time. So I have the time to do things that I like to do. So I do intend to spend time in Auroville, inshallah. Sometime I'll go to
Yes, all that you said seemed to reflect Sri Aurobindo.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Gentleman in the white.
Hi, sir.
Hi. Thank you. Organized religion is no different from organized crime. True or false?
I would disagree. The thing is, many times philosophies depend on the people driving them. Many times organized religions have created a lot of good as well. And I can give you many examples. Buddhism at the time of Gautam Buddha and the initial Sangha. Christianity at the time of Jesus Christ. He was the first man in the Western world. He's actually the Son of God. He was the first Son of God in the Western world to come up with the concept that you can choose your community. You don't have to be born into it. That was a great thought. Organized religion can be a force for good as well, and as happens many times, a few bad men can misuse religion as well. It has happened in our country too. And the task before all of us religious liberals is to speak loudly. Because if we don't speak loudly, we allow the religious extremists and the secular extremists, who in my opinion are both idiots, we allow them to insult our religions. Religious liberals have to speak loudly. And let me use the example of women, for example. I think the number one social issue facing India today. You find so many ridiculous interpretations being drawn by religious extremists, which are used to suppress women. You can go back to the same scriptures and find pro-women interpretations. Religious liberals know that. We don't talk loudly enough. And we should, because this is by far, I think, the most oppressed group in India today, across social classes, across castes, across religious communities, across linguistic communities, across all states. By far the most oppressed group in India today is women. And India is a great country. I'm a very, very proud Indian, but that shouldn't blind us from things that need to be improved. And I think the key social issue at this point of time is women's empowerment. We cannot be the great country that we are capable of becoming until we handle this issue. Even the Manusmriti, which I admit some portions of it are very anti-women, which I oppose. But even the Manusmriti says the gods will abandon the land where women are not respected. Religious liberals have to speak more loudly on this issue.
Okay, I have a question too, and there are lots of people who have raised their hands. I'm going to come to you in just a moment. Padmaja has a question. Padmaja, go ahead.
Amish, I don't know if you've seen this in the paper today, where strangely the Nagpur Income Tax Appellate Tribunal yesterday ruled that Shiva worship is not a religious act because Shiva is not God. Your response?
Well, I don't know if the Nagpur, what is it, Nagpur what?
I'll just read out the context.
Nagpur what? Nagpur?
Lord Shiva, Hanuman and Goddess Durga do not represent any particular religion, but are regarded as supernatural powers.
Which is the organization that did this?
It's the Nagpur Income Tax Appellate Tribunal.
Okay, Nagpur Income Tax Appellate Tribunal is not recognized in the scriptures.
Okay, short, sweet answer there. Okay, I'm just coming to you. I'm really sorry. I just want to ask one question because I'm very curious about this.
Guys, I'm sorry, my throat is really hurting. I need to keep drinking warm water.
Amish, you can feel free to give me as short an answer as the one you just gave to Padmaja. Have you faced anger from people? Because, the subject you write about involves gods. People are really touchy about gods and mythical figures. Have you, has anyone come up to you and said, how dare you write like this about
Not at all.
gods?
Not at all.
Or has it been universally accepted?
I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I'm not being facetious. If you want to write a story like this, there's no better country than India to do it. Because actually, if you look in our past, the tradition of modernizing and localizing myths has been a rich tradition in India for thousands of years. Look at the various versions of the Ramayana. The version of the Ramayana that's most popular in North India today is the Ramcharitmanas, which is actually a 16th century modernization of the original Valmiki Ramayana. Right? In Valmiki Ramayana, for example, Sita ji is a far stronger character. There's a version of the Ramayana called the Adbhut Ramayana, where Sita ji killed Ravan. There's a version of the Ramayana in the tribal areas of Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, where Sita ji is a warrior. There's a version of the Ramayana in Tamil Nadu called the Kamba Ramayana, where Lord Ram is of course the god and the hero, but Ravan's good points are also spoken of. Look at the Purans, for example. You find different creation myths between the Shiv Puran, the Vishnu Puran and the Brahma Puran. Within the Brahma Puran itself, historians tell us that it's maybe 2,000, 2,500 years old. I believe the Brahma Puran is at least 4,000-5,000 years old. But okay, let's believe the historians. Maybe it's 2,000 years old. But the Brahma Puran also mentions the Konark temple, which we all know was built 800 years ago. So what does that mean? Maybe the Brahma Puran that we are reading today was perhaps edited 800 years ago. The point I'm trying to make is this, this tradition of modernizing and localizing myths has been a rich tradition in India. Because in India, religiosity and liberalism always went hand in hand. We just forgot this culture for the last 200, 250 years. So I always say that, look, I'm not doing anything that's less Indian. I am actually being more Indian by finding my own path to God. So, and I'm not, genuinely not surprised that there's been no controversy at all. My books are, by God's grace, not really a secret right now. I haven't faced any protests or anything. Because I'm not doing anything that is un-Indian. I'm being more Indian.
Okay, so he says that he's continuing a tradition. Gentleman there, yeah, with the mic. Go ahead.
Yeah, Amish, you're a brilliant author, actually.
Oh, thank you so much.
But let me tell you, do you realize that you have created a little storm in many Indian homes? Young kids come to parents and ask that you told us a different story about Shiva and Parvati. And here is this man who tells us a story which we believe. Are you planning to rewrite the Indian mythology? And is it the Shiva trilogy is just the starting point and many more to come? So can you a little bit describe what newer things you are planning to do? I mean, it seems as if you are rewriting the Indian mythology.
No, I won't lay claim to such a big task. I'm only doing what comes naturally to me. I've been blessed by Lord Shiva with this story. I did absolutely no fiction before the Immortals of Melua, nor even a short story in school. So I always say if a creatively challenged person like me can write, anyone can write. So whatever stories I'm blessed with, inshallah, I'll write all of them. Okay. Having said that, I do want to say that the tradition of questioning things is also a rich tradition in India. At our core, India is, through most of our past, we have always been a freedom-loving, passionate, rebellious, frankly even slightly insolent race. That's the way we naturally have been for most of history. Once again, we forgot this culture for the last few hundred years, and today I feel we are rediscovering that culture. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th Adhyaya, Lord Krishna tells us very clearly, sorry, I'm sure you're aware, the Bhagavad Gita is an allegory. It's not Lord Krishna talking to Arjun. He's actually talking to us, right? He tells us in the 18th Adhyaya very clearly that I have given you knowledge most profound. Now your task is to think deeply about it and do what you think is right. Essentially, what is he telling us? Use your own damn head. You've been given a brain for a purpose, which means you're supposed to question things. That's actually your duty. So actually, if the youth are questioning things, it's good. They should do it politely. There's no need to get into scraps with the parents. But there's nothing wrong with questioning. It's part of our culture.
I'm just coming to you in just a moment, sir. Just a quick question from Koel right here. Coming to you next.
Hi.
Sorry. Hi, go ahead.
You know what I'm really amazed by, more than even your book, is actually your retention power. Like you're able to sort of quote from all sorts of different sources. And I wonder where that comes from, because we live in such a fast-paced life at the moment where you forget the last text you've sent. You can't remember anything. So what are you doing? Are you taking some memory tablets? Are you reading a lot? Like, I'm actually curious to know this.
I love reading. And I eat a lot of badam. I've been told apparently that's good. But I do a lot of reading. I grew up in a very religious household. It was a good fortune of birth. My grandfather was a teacher at BHU and a Pandit. Both my parents were very religious. And it was also a very liberal household. which means we didn't learn any of that nonsense of one religion is better than another religion, or that you're not supposed to question, just do what you're told to do. We never learned that. And my Baba used to say the logic of this is if you question, then you actually understand things much deeper. Okay? And if you understand things much deeper, then it remains in your mind. Okay? The point of questioning is to understand. Okay? For example, you know the word Upanishad itself, it means sitting at the feet of your guru and asking questions. Okay? That was the way education was in ancient times. Once again, not just in India, across the world. The schools of mystery, for example, were all built in that manner. It wasn't passive learning. The student didn't sit and just listen to what the teacher kept, kind of blabbering away. The teachers actually sat passively, and the student's job was to ask questions. What happens with that is that you understand deeply. When you understand deeply, it remains in your mind for 20, 30, until the day you die. The purpose, the real objective is to understand, not to mug. At least that's what I learned from my family.
Last couple of questions, gentlemen there, and then I'm coming to the lady in front.
Sir.
In the Oath of Vayupatra.
Has everyone read the third book out here? Okay. Shame on you guys, yeah? Okay. But sir, don't ask any spoiler question then. I mean, there are people who haven't, yeah.
You talk of Vishnu and Shiva and the good and the evil. And you just now also said that Shiva lives around us. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Which is probably more profound. Doesn't Shiva live within us?
That actually was the point of my speech, sir. That Shiva lives within us, and that is the concept of Advaita from Adi Shankaracharya ji. In fact, it's a concept that exists across all religions. If you read the book of Luke in the Bible, we are told very clearly, behold, the kingdom of God exists within you. Right? Across all religions, this concept of Advaita, of non-duality, of unity, it does exist. And what that means, what Advaita actually means is that God exists in everything. Not just in us, but in everything, in nature, in the trees, in the sea, everywhere. That's why the ancients were respectful of nature as well, because they saw God in nature, right? In the modern world, why are we so disrespectful of nature? Because we don't see God in it. We think nature has been created for us. No, and we are a part of nature, and there's God in everything. If we start believing that way, then environmentalism won't just be a sexy, fashionable thing to do. It'll actually be our duty, right? Because there's God in nature, so we are supposed to take care of it, right? God exists in everything, That's the philosophy of Advaita, of unity.
Okay, I know a lot of you have questions, but I'm told we have time for one last question, the lady right in front.
Yes, hi.
I'm a Shiv Bhakt as well.
Okay.
And my son is called Shiv. But what I want to ask you is that somehow you know about so many religions. Shiv Ji seems to be above everybody and everything. For instance, if somebody wrote about Ram smoking a chillam or something, people would probably really object and there'd be a big hue and a cry. But Shivji seems to just get away with it and get away with everything because he's sort of above everything. So what would you have to say about that?
Okay, I have to answer this in two parts. Okay, there'll be a slightly philosophical answer, but I'll do the philosophy bit at the end. The first part is, yes, Lord Shiva is a god. Okay, I think even in his traditional forms, he's a very cool god. Okay, there's no other word for it. He's a very cool god. One of my, and no disrespect to any other god. Okay, one of my younger readers, had written into me saying he's the dude of the gods. Okay, he's actually a god of the rebels, the way he naturally is. Okay, so I'm a slightly rebellious, slightly anti-authoritarian type person. Okay, so for people like me, he's a very attractive god. Why? He's very democratic. He never talks down to his devotees. There's this lovely line in which is spoken in Banaras that Shivji apne bhakton ke bhakt hain. He's a devotee of his devotees. He treats his wife with respect, something that frankly many Indian men could really learn from. Okay, there are many times even in the myths where Parvati ji goes and does what she thinks is right. Lord Shiva doesn't, punish her for disobeying him. He continues to obsessively love her. He's a brilliant dancer. He's a brilliant musician. He's a fierce warrior. He's an intellectual. He's the source of the Vedas. And as you rightly said, yes, he drinks bhang. He's a very cool god. He's a fun god to write about. But I want to say one thing that, because I get asked this question many times, that do I think Lord Shiva is the supreme god? And I always quote this lovely line from the Rig Veda. It's from the Asya Vamasya hymn. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one, but the wise men know it as many. God is one, but he is approached in many different ways, right? And God can come to us in many different forms. He can come to us as Lord Vishnu, he can come to us as Shaktima, he can come to us as Jesus Christ, he can come to us as Allah, he can come to us as Gautam Buddha, he can come to us as Mahavir, Zarathustra ji, he can come to us as Guru Nanak. He comes in many different forms, but he exists for one purpose and one purpose alone, that is to help us. And it doesn't matter what form he comes to us in. He comes to us in different forms because we are different people. I'm the kind of guy who would appreciate someone like Lord Shiva because I'm a rebellious guy. Right? There are some people who are not rebellious, so they may appreciate a different form of God. But they're all part of the same source. No God is higher or lower. That's, yeah. God is the truth. Yeah, that's what makes it. Okay, let me give you another story. Okay, I heard this story in Ajmer Sharif. Okay, my wife and I, we have faith in Ajmer Sharif. So whenever we go to Jaipur, we try and take some time and go to Ajmer. And on one of my trips out there, we met a mullah. Okay, and he told me this story, which he said was apparently a story of Shams and Rumi. I'm sure you've heard of Maulana Rumi. The very few men who can change your life with 4 lines. Rumi was, one of them. Okay, so he told me this story that was apparently spoken of by Shams and Rumi. That one day a man died. Okay, since he died, his soul became free. Right, so it came out of the body, and since it was a soul, it could do anything. Right, so it started flying, and flew higher and higher beyond the city, beyond Earth, beyond the solar system, flew higher and higher beyond the Milky Way galaxy, beyond the universe, beyond the multiple universes that exist, till it reached the source of light. Okay, it found God, and then it went to God and it said, "My Lord, there's this tiny, small, insignificant little planet far, far away called Earth. Does it matter to you what religion they follow out there, what version of God they worship?" You know what God answered? Doesn't matter. Follow any path you want. They all end with me. And this was told to me by Mullah at Ajmer Sharif. That is the beauty of India in my mind.
All paths lead to God. The line that I'm going to take away from this session is Shiva is democratic. I think that fits in with the theme of the conclave as well. So apart from just Indian husbands, I think everybody can learn from Lord Shiva. I know many of you have questions. I'm sorry I couldn't come to you. We're completely out of time. Amish, you've been brilliant. Thank you very much.
Just a couple of more minutes. Amish, can I please request Mr. N. Ravichandran from Pipava of Defence to please come and give Amish a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you.